thank you for many of your emails. I want to just tell you what this session today is going to involve. Last week, I asked people if they were ready to do some homework. And what we're going to devote today to, other than I want to read you a few of the emails I got, I want to just do a very maybe 10-15 minute review of what we've already discussed, so that anybody coming in today, if this is the first day they're able to join us, doesn't feel left behind and doesn't feel that they're coming into complete confusion and they don't know what we're talking about or where we're coming from. The reason I want to do that is because I want them to have an idea of, if they go back in the recordings, with the exception of the first two where we got Zoom bombed because we were complete neophytes, what's in the content of that, and then at their own pace they can go through that, catch up with us, and hit the rubber when the rubber hits the road, hit the pavement running, sort of. Okay, so welcome again, everybody. So I want to start off by reading a few parts of a few. I won't mention who the people are, but they'll know who they are. Okay, the first one is from somebody who's been a regular participant in the podcast. And she said, Elaine, there is such powerful kindness in the words, "You deserve everything you wish for." Besides the course you offer, you bring out the best of thoughts and feelings. I'm sure in all of us, self-compassion, underline that one, folks, self-compassion. When you're 100% in the wrong, you still deserve to be treated by others and yourself with kindness, with gentleness, and with respect. All right, does translate in other compassion as well. We can forget. It's nice to be reminded. Enjoy your evening. I love the table example and the example of your mom's wedgies, purse, and glasses. Okay, that reminds me of one small thing I want to be sure not to forget. So this week, I've been working with someone new, and they had been part of the group when we talked about the three goals: joy, fun, and play. Reminding yourself through activity, through learning, that you are, no matter how bad things are, all right, no matter what comorbidities you carry with you, that you remain and you are healthier and better for it. To remind yourself that you are a growing, learning, developing human being. All right, you're not stagnant, even though you may feel stuck, overwhelmed, and frozen when it comes to activity and making decisions. And the third part of that is just old, honest work. All right, at whatever the priorities are in your life that will move you forward, that are you today moving forward. All right, and those should be, if possible, maybe not right from the start, but if possible, very soon, they should be in equal proportions. All right, and then you can do with the rest of your day whatever you want. There was maybe an important thing there that I didn't stress well enough. And so this person who was working really hard on her homework kept bumping her head on the fact that she did get to joy, fun, and play. She did get to activities that reminded her that she was a growing, learning, developing human being. And remember, I said those three things are really important. You can't leave any of them out, because that's where you create balance, right? All right. But somehow she was having a lot of difficulty getting started on the plain old boring work. So I said, well, did I mention that balance of those three things? Hi, Isa, welcome. That balance of those three things is like a teeter-totter. All right, it's like a teeter-totter. It's a fulcrum. There is a pyramid in the middle. You've got joy, fun, and play on this side. You've got growing, learning, developing human being here, and you've got boring old work, all right, that nobody wakes up and is thrilled is ahead of them. All right. And so if you just nail down joy, fun, and play, and you just nail down activities that remind you that life is worthwhile and you're a growing, learning human being, developing human being, you don't have balance, all right? Because there's nothing on the other side, right? So all you got is a teeter-totter that's like this. You're not going anywhere with that, right? You're not getting any movement, any progress. You're not getting the joy out of it. And so remember that the boring old work that none of us likes, and nobody likes anybody who finds that's fun. You'll notice that, okay? Nobody likes them because there are so few of them, all right? And they have other problems. So you need this balance. This is where life is. Hello, Peter, welcome. And you're like this, right? So you need all three, all right? So don't specialize in one, joy, fun, and play. Don't specialize in growing, learning, developing human being. Don't specialize, whatever you do, in plain old boring work, because you will not go back to it, all right? You won't. You'll create a drudge, and you will not go back to it. So that's why we need the balance. Even if you start off, even if you only start off with 15 minutes of each of those three things, one of the keys, it turned out, was to say, don't start your day. Don't start your day necessarily with anything that creates the tip, all right? Remember I said, and this is key, when you get up, now there are some caveats. If you have health problems that require you to do something first, do it first. If you're diabetic and you need to have something to eat or whatever, medication, do that first. Self-care, appropriate healthy self-care first. However, once that's taken care of, like in whatever basic minimum time it takes to do that, start with the thing that you least want to do. Get it out of the way, unload the weight of the day, because it will hang over you like an albatross, and it will suck energy. It will create avoidant behavior. So if before that first cup of coffee or that first cup of tea, or hopefully it's coffee and tea in the morning, do your 15 minutes. Make it 15 minutes. You can always go back later on in the day if you really feel you can do it and you want to do it, to do another 15. And once you get 2 15 minutes down, even if they're divided up, you can add a third later on, all right? Don't make it a drudge, and don't put them all together. Don't put them all together when you're just starting. All right, and then go have your coffee, then go have your tea, then go have your, I don't like to think of reward, but the carrot, right? That carrot. Remember, in the book I said, there are 2 ways to motivate yourself, all right? The first is carrot, the carrot. And if you think of yourself, if you think of yourself as a donkey, with this pole and the carrot, or the stick, right? Both will motivate you. Please don't opt for the stick until you're a master at using the carrot. Because here's what the stick does. The stick will move you. It may even move you a little faster and a little sooner, all right? Avoid pain, avoid pain. That's our basic human tenet, right? Avoid pain. So we'll move, but you'll only move. You won't develop a good habit, something that sustains you and moves you forward and creates balance. And you're only going to move until the stick stops hitting you, or the threat of the stick, or the self-blame and self-doubt that, I deserve, I have to punish you create that. You create your reality by what you tell yourself. So please don't go for the stick, okay? The carrot, however, will motivate you. It hangs out in front of you because you use it appropriately for yourself. I'm looking forward to something, all right? And the carrot will keep moving you forward if you identify the things that truly represent a carrot to you. Okay, for me, I've done this for a long time. And so for me, my carrot is the rest of the day is mine if I get this blasted thing out of the way, and I don't have to do it perfectly. I just have to do it good enough. Because we never get sick of carrots. Okay, we have an insatiable appetite for carrots. We can change up the carrot. We can make it this kind of carrot or that kind of carrot. All right? Please be good to yourself, but also be firm with yourself. So, recap. It's a teeter-totter on a fulcrum, and you need joy, fun, and play over here. You need growing, learning, developing human being, which is the next closest activity, but the furthest thing away from joy, fun, and play usually is that darn old hard work. It's something we're really not looking forward to. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And the person I was working with has just joined us, and she is now on is it day 5 or day 6? Okay. And it's been a while since she had like almost a full week religiously. Has that changed a bit? Okay. Yeah. Now she needs to really reinforce the fact of what that carrot is. All right. But some days she's even been able to do full-heartedly, enthusiastically, 2, 3 15-minute sessions. All right. Okay. The next email I want to read to you, just to let you know, it's not all about hoarding. It's not all about the stuff. It is about hoarding. It's not all about the stuff. All right. There's a whole backstory to the stuff. That's what we uniquely are going to be talking about and dealing with. That's what your homework's going to be about, that backstory. And your backstories are unique to you. So another constant participant sent, thank you for your podcasts. I'm finding them and your book both very enlightening. My husband has even sat and listened to portions of it with me as I asked for his support. Yesterday, you talked a bit about forgiveness, and that when there was some, and then there was some audio issues. I was hoping that the statement, forgiveness is for the injured party, would resonate with him. All right. So forgiveness doesn't discriminate, but we have to work at it. All right. Forgiveness is not saying, okay, it's okay. It doesn't matter. What you did, what you said, what you didn't do, what you didn't say, it's okay. I'm okay with that. And it was right. I understand it was right. You're never saying it was right. You're never saying, if you are the injured party, that you deserved it, that there was anything you did that appropriately resulted in that. All right. We all get choices. And the choice is to lash out in some way, verbally, physically, emotionally. Passive aggressive is also lashing out. Right? You can lash out. That's a choice. Not a good one. Lots of regrets to that. Or we have the choice to turn and walk away. All right? And they did too. So when you forgive, you are forgiving that person. But sometimes, depending on the damage that was done, the hurt that was caused, the duration, if it's something that goes on and on and on and on relentlessly, sometimes what it cost you in your life, your happiness, your energy, just the life you were meant to have. Sometimes when you forgive that person, it's more about, remember I said when the load is too heavy, put it down. Just put it down. Don't carry it anymore. You don't make it more valid. You don't make it right. You don't make the pain that you suffered more justified. You don't have to justify it. Sometimes it's just unloading that for yourself. All right? The other person isn't off the hook. They're just off the hook as far as you carrying a burden. They are still responsible for what they did, for what they said, what they didn't do, what they didn't say. All right? Okay. Next one. Hello, Elaine. I'd like to take this time to express my most sincere gratitude for the series of podcasts. It's like having you sitting at my kitchen table. We've accomplished something here. That's exactly what I was aiming for. And talking to me about things that are true and impacting me greatly. The timing couldn't have been better. I was in a bad place. You literally provided kindle to a fire that was just getting extinguished. It's the humanism and kind words of understanding that have moved me. Thank you for that. The coach in me, however, wants to remind you that's what you also need to say to yourself. It might start with somebody external to you saying it, but I'm only saying it as a reminder of what has always been true. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to write those words down if you need to, emblazon them in your brain. You know that tape, the committee? Well, kick the committee out, voice over that, okay, and keep repeating no matter how many times you go down. It doesn't matter. It only matters if you don't get back up. You're worth it. You are worthy of success. You are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of not just respect from others, but respecting yourself as well. It's fundamental. It's in your blood. All right? So become your own coach. Okay. Oh, today I found myself singing. This was so cute. Today I found so the person goes through the different steps she's gone through. Some were easy and some weren't easy. But she said, today I found myself singing Let It Go when handling things and asking myself if I'm letting it go or getting rid of it and accepting the fact that I may have the right to hold on to it a bit longer. If I want, it's okay. In the last 2 weeks, a friend took at least 3 carloads of stuff. This is not a competition, folks. This is simply to say, use whatever material we cover in the way that best fits, okay, your needs and moves you forward even by baby steps today. 3 carloads of stuff that she put on a Buy Nothing website community. Please stay off the Buy Nothing website community. Okay, I would delete that icon from your cache. Today she left with 2 boxes of material, activity books, posters, reading stuff for a brand new, this is wonderful, a brand new school teacher that has nothing for her classroom. I wouldn't have had the capacity of handling the transactions following the discarding. That was too much. But with that help, I can. That's what I do when I work with people, is I take all the, depends on whether they've got physical limitations or not. Sometimes I'll take the recycling as well, but I always take the donations, and I always help them put the discards out. Unless they find a particular discard too difficult that they're going to be tempted to rethink it, but they don't want to rethink it, then I might take that as well. Okay. Okay. What do we got here? Someone else. Yes, keep me on the list. I now have your book. Going from pictures. Yes, we are hoarders. However, not in every room. Good. Stress the safety issues. All right, please. The clear path, entrance and egress routes, clear 2 to 3 feet around, if you can manage 3, good, around any heat source, furnace, hot water tank, any other heat source like external heater, wood stove, that kind of thing, all right? Stairs as well. A couple of weeks ago, I asked you a question of how to stop decluttering. So this person goes through a list of events in her life. That is not an easy answer. That's a why is the sky blue answer. And so sometimes we have a situation growing up where parents unwittingly, they don't mean to do this, I'm sure, they either take full responsibility for all of the self-regulating tasks, so we never learn to do the unpleasant things. We never learn to self-manage preparing food and cleaning up and putting away, and the fact that the job isn't done till the dishes are done and put away, till the counters are wiped so that nothing's growing on them. So parents either take over entirely, or the parents didn't have that skill set either, and they don't teach you. And so you learn by modeling behavior. In one case, that's what the target looks like. All right, that's normal. You see other people's homes, the friends who you visit as an adult or as a child, and you go, gee, you know, you either are attracted to the calm, the order, or you're thinking, just another way to do it, right? One of those two, if you never learned because somebody did it all, and maybe they criticized you, and so maybe, you know, verbally or emotionally, they weren't the supportive as parents when it came to clutter. It was, they do everything and you should just automatically know how to do it. One way or the other, those pieces fit into a puzzle, and that puzzle forms a picture of, I don't understand what the target is, or I don't see the priority, the merit. Okay, I just don't see the merit in putting that activity. I haven't developed that kind of systematic thinking when it comes to just the buildup of everyday things. Gosh, we were talking about paper. The amount of unsolicited paper that comes into our lives every single day is phenomenal. All right, phenomenal. Jim was just saying to me, the computer age was supposed to eliminate paper, right? Yeah, well, they forgot to tell you about the reports and all of the print jobs that you do where you can't find the queue and get it stopped, and the reams, and we're holding on to things. You know, we're looking at the possibilities, right? Well, we could use that paper, we could cut it up, we could do this, we could do that. As soon as you're on the second or third thing you could do with it, think long and hard, because there's never going to be any shortage of paper or plastic bags. All right, it's never going to be a shortage of those. So the next 100 are coming. All right, how are you staying on top of it for yourself? Okay. I've struggled with clutter all my life and was diagnosed with ADHD about 17 years ago. I'm 52 now. I've hired an organizer, watched all the shows, own all the books, you name it. On your scale, I'm at about the third level, just before the last category. So the third level would actually, in that case, be the fourth category. All right, because if you look at Randy Frost's pictures, his pictures of accumulation, volume of accumulation, which is not the only way to measure your risk. Those pictures are divided into every 2 is a level, all right? And the 9th picture is level 5. By that time, you can't move in the environment, all right? With our risk pictures, we risk how much mobility, access to emergency services, proximity to heat sources, proximity to areas that require mobility, like hallways and staircases, that kind of thing. You can go by the pictures in those cases. We were really careful to take very discrete pictures of different levels with the explanation of why, even though it might look like a more innocent accumulation, why it represents, what is the risk there, all right? Okay. I can reach down into a 3-foot stack and find something based on its color and approximate time. Not so at the end, she says, I'm not sure what my question is. Oh, and I've tried body doubling. So body doubling is when someone sits with you and they either talk to you, keep you company, or they model what you're doing. It's not, body doubling is not the same as coaching, all right? Coaching is what you need, right? You need someone to either be, ideally, with you physically, if that's not possible, with you person to person, eyeball to eyeball, electronically. All right, and that can be accomplished. If you can join this group electronically, that's possible as well. And we actually work on discrete areas, understanding them, what I call deconstructing them, and then making decisions that you can live with. Just because it's not going to stay does not necessarily mean that at this moment its time has come to move on. There may be a piece of work, small piece of work that you need yet to do so that you can let it go, not mourn for it, and it doesn't create a void in you. All right? So the person who sent this to me is with us, and so just know that it might be worth doing a trial period of online electronic coaching, okay? You use Skype, Zoom, Duo, FaceTime, there's another, that WhatsApp, all right? Whichever you are most competent at, okay? Another person who's with us, keep me on the list. I very much need help. Have been busier because of COVID, working more, not less, and finding myself struggling to get myself on track and clear out all my clutter. Day off today, I'm going to clear out the shed. Okay. All I'm going to ask you to do, all right, is to be really aware of all the alls. All right. There were a lot of alls in there, a lot of pressure. Oh, it's my one chance. I got to really do this. I don't have enough time. I can feel it from the page, from the words. Do not create a marathon unless it is a safety, like an imminent safety hazard. Don't make it into a marathon event where you come out of it empty. All right? Don't do that, because you won't go back to it. That may be all the alls, that compressed shortage period, that perception of a shortage of time. All right. If you've got that little time, you're running half on empty at this point. You have to be, unless you're a machine. All right. Unless we can pull you up to the gas station and put gas in the tank, like literally, you are running on semi-empty here. So don't use all your energy. Get help. Get help if you need it, all right? To help with the physical things, because if you make it a drudge and you come out of it empty, I swear you're not going back to it. That's why maybe you don't stay on top of what you intend to. Okay, all right. So I want to do a very, very quick, now it's going to be like 5 minutes. Okay, so for anybody joining us new, there is an inventory of podcasts on the website. Jim, can you tell us what it's under? Jim?
Yep, yeah. We're still populating everything in there, but if you go on the website, there should be a thing right on the main
homepage
navigation bar that says webcast recordings.
Okay.
And they will be showing up there soon.
Okay. All right. So what we've done is the definition of hoarding, and that's important. All right. We've done the different types of hoarding, because not all hoarding is the same. And some types of hoarding speak to some issues. Some other types of hoarding speak to other issues. And everybody who ends up creating a hoarded environment, no matter where on the continuum it is, has something that they're dealing with. So solve the right problem. understand, do a good self-assessment, okay? We talked about the 3 pathways to hoarding. You can go back and listen to that podcast. Recently, we talked about the comorbidities. Those are the others, sometimes physical health, sometimes mental health, other conditions that people also live with. Generally, they predated the hoarding onset. However, sometimes they're only discovered because they are the thing after the hoard has been created, because people keep bumping their head on it. Well, I'll get this again, this again, this again. And so that pattern comes up, and if you've got someone who's knowledgeable working with you, they can see that pattern and turn the light on. So you now know what the other barrier or semi-barrier is, all right? We also talked about the different camps. There are 2 camps, remember? One camp is, the stuff is my friend. I can't have enough of it. There is no off switch. Every time I see something, I'm triggered. And the more I have and the closer it is to me, the better I feel. It soothes me, okay? That speaks to certain comorbidities that you should know about. You need to factor those in. You may need additional skills and knowledge about how they are triggering you and keeping you back from the dreams and the desires you have. The other camp is, I have blinders on and I become clutter blind. And the reason for that is because we can only afford to look at what we are A, aware of, and B, what we feel competent to deal with, right? What we feel able to deal with. And otherwise, that camp puts blinders on, and it builds up around them. They have blocked that out or minimized it significantly with stick handling logic, rationale, and they, 1 foot in front of the other out the door, then 1 foot in front of the other to the very few areas in their home where they can sleep, sit, or eat, or engage in any of the activities of daily living. Go back and listen to that podcast. The other question I asked, and I will ask this of you every time, how are you taking care of balancing your physical health and your mental health? Okay, that balance. And I'm going to respectfully suggest joy, fun, and play as the fuel. Okay, reminding yourself, I may feel stuck, I may feel overwhelmed over my head, but I still am inside me a growing, learning, developing human being. And I can't be that if I am as stuck, intractably stuck as I feel right now. I can't be that. That's a contradiction. Where is the light? Where is the light? All right. And the other, back to just plain old boring work. Okay, that stuff that, oh gee, we got up in the morning, there's work. We went to bed at night, there's work. All right. Living, just living, the activities of daily living cause a certain amount of work. All right. And it's not going anywhere. Okay. All right. So we talked about thinking styles. I'm not going to go through all 11. We will do a review on that later. Once we get through the comorbidities, we'll do that. Okay. But those, they're in the book. They're also in David Burns' 10 days to self-esteem workbook, which I highly recommend. You can get it cheap on Alibris Books or ABC Books. It's by Dr. David Burns. All right. Excellent workbook. We have talked about being on your own side and refusing to have an adversarial relationship with yourself, where you beat yourself up, you criticize yourself, you never allow yourself to be satisfied. All right. Okay, we've talked a little bit. Now we're going to get down to, in the last half, we're going to get down to, who are you really? And I'm going to open up the chat. There are 2 chats in there already. You can send them, just so you know. Sue sent the instructions out with the invite. You can send them to me privately, okay? And I will give people the gist of what we're talking about, and I will do my level best to answer it. And if I can answer it because it's a sky is blue question, then I will try to give you a resource, all right? And maybe we could come back to, if enough people ask that type of question, making that the subject of a podcast. Okay. So apparently there is a website. It's called TRASH, T-R-A-S-H, capital T-R-A-S-H, capital N-O-T-H-I-N-G.com, trashnothing.com. And this is for people who want to get rid of things or many things. They can try that as well. You can try the Buy Nothing community sites, but please, if you're having difficulty, no matter what is on there, all right, no matter what is on there, try really, really hard not to get triggered, because these things can be a double-edged sword. Another question to everyone. In my family tradition, I know, good enough is not good enough. I hear you. I heard that innumerable times as a child, it's hard to overcome that mentally. So even Albert Einstein, okay, had comorbidities. Even Albert Einstein had comorbidities, more than one. We sure know that Sigmund Freud had a few as well. All right. Nobody gets into this world and out of this world without something to carry. We are supposed to learn from it. And the first thing we learn is to love ourselves, accept ourselves as flawed, imperfect human beings, because that's what we're supposed to be. All right. And so you can, whoever taught you that, all right, that good enough is not good enough, all right, was engaging in all or nothing thinking, all right, one of the very first problematic thinking style, because they mistook some things, not everything. There might be things that you really choose to really strive at, okay? The work I do, for instance, with you folks, I'm not satisfied with the knowledge I have here, all right, and 19 years experience. There's always something more to know, something maybe to describe differently so that people can pick it up better. It's work I love. My garden is sort of like, oh, no, it needs improvement, all right, doesn't need improvement, but it needs improvement, because I choose that. I choose it. So be really, really scrupulous at how many things have to be aced, because whoever taught you good enough isn't good enough, applied it to too many things, okay? There probably are one handful in your lifetime of things that absolutely need to be aced for your own satisfaction, all right? It's a very small number. The rest of them, yeah, they mistook good enough for slacking off, okay? You don't need to keep that striving muscle that you use mentally and physically, emotionally. You don't need to keep that at Olympic athlete standards, all right? You need to identify today, and what is a priority today is going to be different from 5 years from now, 2 years from now, 10 years ago, when you were a child, it was different. Okay, you are a different person. The priorities that you accept, right? The priorities that you accept change. And your priorities, this is your life. It's up to you to decide what should be on that short list of, no, I really want to nail this. Okay? I really want to nail this. It gives me such pleasure for it to be. I look at it and there's no distraction. But that has to be a very short list. And I respectfully suggest that if it isn't a short list, that you're not getting the joy out of life that you were meant to have. You're busy with, you are somehow being kept busy with an endless list of tasks and assessments after the tasks. Is it good enough? Is it good enough? Okay, good enough is good enough. Good enough is good enough. It doesn't mean that it's substandard. It means it's good enough. All right? Let yourself off that treadmill. Okay? The person who taught you that, the people who taught you that, were engaging in, and maybe when they said it or they reinforced it, I don't know, you'll know this, maybe they didn't actually mean, they were teaching you a principle in life. Strive for excellence. Okay, but they were seriously misguided if they actually expected you to achieve it on everything you set your hand to. All right? You make priorities. We all make priorities about what we're going to do. And of that list of to-dos or musts, sometimes they're musts, all right, where the standard is for that. And that excellence, remember Jane Birkett in their book Procrastination, it's also that this good enough is not good enough applied to enough things. I'm betting dollars to donuts that there is procrastination somewhere on that continuum, and it is well justified. All right? Because you can't possibly be precise and excellent at everything without making yourself sick. Okay? Okay. And I'm betting if you knew the truth about them, they weren't exactly perfect at everything either. You just didn't hear that side of the story. Okay? In their secret moments, okay, they were thinking, not so good. All right, but we won't tell. We won't tell them that. All right? Okay, so let's see where we are now. Any more chats? Any more homework? What about dreams, people? And any people, you can do it privately, you can do it for everyone, sharing dreams. What are your dreams? What would you like to get out of these podcasts? We have shy people here today. Okay. What about, oh, yay, got somebody here. Where are we? Okay. A plan to move forward. Okay, a plan to move forward. So, a plan to move forward. Plan to just start. Move forward. Let me just take a note. All right. So, plan to move forward. We'll start with start, okay? And and so I think I'm going to give you a very simple answer to that today, but I think we're going to make that one maybe a full podcast, and it could even be the next one, okay? If enough people want that. So if right now, a lot of people have themselves blanked out there. So send me, could people send me a chat message? Just yes. If people would like me to spend a whole session on plan to move forward, plan to start. All right. And then I'll know whether it's next week's podcast or not. Okay. So a plan to start would be, first of all, becoming aware. Okay, remember, the best assessment is the basis for the best outcomes that you want, priority outcomes. And so do an assessment this week. I want you to become intimately aware and familiar with your piles, with your clutter. I want you to really have a very close look at it and make notes. Not all piles will be the same. Oh, lots of yeses. Woo, we seem to have a winner here, folks. Okay, so I want first be aware. All right, so clutter that's paper is different from clutter that is all clothing or all anything. All right, if you have specific piles, if your piles are more naturally specific to particular types of things, that's different than things being in a jumble. Okay, now we're talking mainly if this is to any degree a significant issue, then it's quite likely that drawers have become mixed with stuff. Okay, when you open them up, you think, oh yeah, no, we're not dealing with that today. Because you see the complexity of it. The more complex the pile, the more mixed the pile, the more difficult. All right, the more difficult. The other thing I could do too, a little later on when we all kind of get to know each other, if somebody wanted to do, to volunteer, to have a coaching session, and I would work directly with them on coaching them around the questions you ask yourself. All right, now whether we did that as a Zoom session that's not part of the podcast and we record it for everyone to look at, to review. That would have to be confidential, however, so there would have to be an understanding among participants that there's no discussing that outside of the group. Or we could do it in real time for a part of the session, just so you understand the method of coaching that I use, so that you can approximate it for yourself as well. All right. So assess what it is, figure out how complex your piles are. Are they different in different areas? Is the kitchen, for instance, mostly empty food containers or dishes, or shopping that got brought in and not put away? Those things tell me, those things are clues to me, rather, sorry. They're clues about where the problem is, where the breakdown in progression of the system is. It also gives me a clue to what's happening behind the scenes, that happens habitually enough that it presents an ongoing problem for you. Okay, so those things are all clues. The other thing then to ask yourself, as you sit and make friends with your piles, right, I want you to look for the relationship that you have with those things. Anybody who thought decluttering was about going in, picking stuff up, making a decision, that, yes, here, 3 boxes, okay, is probably knows nothing about hoarding disorder. Okay, what they know about is housework. Decluttering is not housework. Okay, all right. So, so what I'd like you then to start thinking about, remember I said way back, the continuum, every single thing you have in your environment, right, fits on that continuum from 1 to 10. It fits on the continuum from 1 to 10 because of the relationship you have with it. And so 1, 2, 3, when you see your 1, 2, 3s, right, your immediate reaction is, oh, it's a very protective, engaging. You feel that relationship. Oh, I just love it. I just love it. And you're saying something like, oh, I can't imagine life without it. I mean, no, 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 that has to stay. Very protective, very me, okay? It represents, maybe it's represented who you are today, and a long time before that too. You have a very close, I make it 1, 2, 3 because in the beginning when I just made this method 1, 2, and 3, people got confused, okay? I did that way back, and that's how I learned that no, things can be in a grouping, all right? You don't have the same relationship, the same intensity for the same reasons with all of the grouping of 1, 2, 3, all right? But there's still 1, 2, 3s. So that's why I give people a little bit of a leeway there. No, if it's like, oh no, no, no. And if you say anything like, okay, well, something's got to go. It's going to be somewhere down here because it sure isn't going to be this. All right. Okay. Those are 1, 2, 3s. Respect it. Unless we need to have a different discussion. All right. If it turns out that these things are irreversibly contaminated, or they are so broken that and they're big enough that they're occupying space, but they're so broken that there is no fixing them. They're right. Then we need to have a different discussion. A different discussion doesn't have to involve it goes out. All right. And for heaven's sakes, when the committee starts giving a vote on your 1, 2, 3s, seriously get up and leave the meeting. All right. Because if you don't respect that those are 1, 2, 3s, down the road, you are going to regret it. You're going to pine for it. You're going to think of it all the time, all the time. All right. You're going to mourn the loss, and you are going to replace it. And you are going to replace it with more and faster. All right. You create a trigger in yourself. Don't do it. That discussion might be, that's when we have to have an honest sit-down discussion about the importance and how, if it is going to be kept, how it's going to be kept, but safe. Let's go to the other end of that 10. Now, all you're doing this week while you're making friends with your piles is identifying any 1, 2, 3s that you spot right out of the gate. All right. And what that feels like. You're practicing that muscle, that mental muscle. All right, you're doing work. You're not just sitting there contemplating, No, you're not. You're actually developing that muscle by asking yourself those questions, by feeling what that relationship feels like. You need to feel that. You need to know it. You need to connect these two parts, your heart and your mind, so that you can spot these as you move forward. All right? Let's go to the other end of that continuum, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right? 7, 8, 9, 10 is about, you're saying things like, what's that silly thing still doing here? I thought I got rid of that already. All right. Or you're saying, oh, something's got to go. It's going to be you because it sure isn't going to be you. All right. Or, yeah, I wonder how many of those I have. If I have multiples of those, I will seriously let these go. All right, I can do without that. Sometimes they might require a particular home, or they might require a ritual in order to let them go. But the energy is very different. Very, very different when approaching those. Now, the 4, 5, 6 is where we dance. We're going to run it over a little bit, folks, to answer this question. 4, 5, 6, that's where we dance. All right. And so the fast answer, so I can take another question, is pick the biggest number one you have that you can carry. Pick the strongest number 7 that you can pick up and carry. And run them by, run the 1 by. And if it's nowhere near a 1, all right, then take the 7, run it by. But go by what you're saying to yourself and what you're feeling kinesthetically. All right, run it by. And the closer it is to a 7, the more likely it is to be a 6. The closer it is to the 1, the more likely it is to be a 4. Right? Now you're only left with the 5s. There may be a jumble of them, but this, you know, this relationship, right? And the truth is that in our environment, in 19 years, I have never had anybody, and I have had people who they couldn't get in the front door. I have had people who, after a lot of work, for many years, got rid of 14 tons of paper, all right, and helped to do it. This works, and it respects who you are, it respects your relationship, and it inoculates you from having to replace things that you regret. Because even the 5s, okay, even the 6s, 7, 8, 9, 10, all of those, when they go by me coaching you to make I can live with it decision. And I've never had a situation where there wasn't enough home space, permanent place in the home, no more than 3 to 4 steps from where it's actually used for its purpose, that we couldn't find an appropriate place for the 1, 2, 3s and the 4s as well. I've never had that happen, so I'm just going to trust that is a really good plan to move forward. Okay, one more question. I'll keep the rest of these questions for next time as well. To be free to have my own life again. Room for, so a dream, to be free to have my own life again. Room for other thoughts, relationships, even purchase. Absolutely, Maureen. Absolutely. All right. This is not the last thing you're going to fall in love with. And that's okay. That's who you are today, moving forward. You've got to make room for the future. You've got to do that. And you can't do it by trying to bring the whole past along with you. Okay? Time and space is limited. All right? So leave room for the future, for that next thing that's going to be a little jolt of joy. Learning how to get routines and structures, yes. I dream of having every room organized, and this is Leanne, and the outside areas where I have time to keep my house tidy and clean and time to do whatever projects I want to do. Okay, so Leanne and everyone else, start with 15 minutes every single day before you give yourself the carrot that is meaningful to you that day. Sometimes, by the way, it has also been chocolate. All right, so whatever it is, all right? It can be whatever that isn't destructive, that isn't destructive to you. What's the routine? The routine is the night before you go to bed, you make no more than a 3-point list of what are the priorities for tomorrow. And some of them will be these jobs. Okay, these things, this tidy. And that you are going to spend no more than, certainly the first, I would say the first week, Leanne. Okay, I would say at least the first week, no more than 15 minutes picking up, tidying, sorting, that boring work. 15 minutes joy, fun, and play each. Joy, fun, and play. That's 45 minutes. And learning, growing, developing human being. All right. But here's the structure. You're doing it every single day. And I would strongly recommend that that pattern will begin in a structure that in time, in enough time, if you just stick with it, will be your routine. All right. And you can decide the rest of the time, when it's not joy, fun, and playtime, you can sit and you can pick out visually where are the 1, 2, 3s, where are the clear 7, 8, 9, 10s, and where are the 4, 5, 6s. Okay, make friends. Then you've spotted them early. Now here's the piece I will add to that. All right. The other thing that it is perfectly appropriate to add to that, perfectly appropriate, right, is while you're doing that 15-minute forward work, building the routine, it's perfectly appropriate to be avoiding adding to that build up by breakfast you make, you know, you have a bath, clean out the bathtub, hanging up your clothes, doing a load of laundry, if it's time for laundry, when you bring the groceries in, groceries go away, not just the perishables. So stay ahead of it at this end. Don't make it any worse while you're doing 15 minutes a day to start. All right. By the next week, you probably you're going to know by the feel of it. Okay. And don't expect that it's going to get easier in that week. Okay. Remember, the path to the rut is downhill. It's an easier slide. Okay. So it's going to feel like a project to start. Then it's going to feel like work. Then it's going to feel like where the challenge is. That's when you're really learning. Where are the challenges? Yeah, well, the challenges can wait because this is going to happen. I said it was going to happen and it is going to happen. I deserve it. I deserve that feeling about myself after like that. Did it. Glad it's over. Okay. Some days it will be like pulling teeth. Other days it'll be like woot woot. Okay, so that's it for today. I'm going to keep the rest of these questions. We have about 5 more questions. I'm going to keep those and we're going to include those next week. Everyone have a fabulous week and we will see you back here. You've got your homework. I'm going to be interested next week to hear what kinds of things were 1, 2, 3s for you. And there's no judgment. Okay? What kinds of things turned out to be 7, 8, 9, 10s? And maybe what were some of your preferences to make more of the 6s, 7, 8, 9, 10s, if they could only find the right home? Take care, everybody. Make it a good one.